It's time for slideshows.
It's time for PowerPoint. We're doing this because we know that there's a lot of people here who may not be familiar with KLDC. They may have heard of it, but they don't know exactly how it runs or how it operates, but also how to participate.
SMW Central and Romhack Races just affiliated together, and this is our first venture between our two sites. So I know there's a large community over here on Romhack Races dedicated to making and racing Kaizo levels, but y'all are not necessarily over on SMW Central, so we're going to run through the basics of the contest.
So to talk a little bit first, what exactly is KLDC, or what is the design contest? So this has been a fun experience for me because I got to go back and explore the history, the dark history of KLDC, which honestly started out because none of the mods at the time would make one, so Panga decided that he was going to have his own contest with Kaizo levels and blackjack. And so we can literally trace the origins of KLDC all the way back to 2008 with Panga deciding we're going to have a contest.
Yeah, back then we didn't really like Kaizo hacks that much. They were kind of just... I was around back then. I was making contests and everything. And yeah, Kaizo was not allowed on our site. It was seen as a fad and not good design. And so we were randomly elitist about it back then. Things were different. Obviously, that has changed.
We are glad that it has changed. But since then, there have been 6 Kaizo level design contests. There was 2008, the very first one. There were a few others. And then there was a break from about 2012 to 2015. And then there was one in 2015, 2016, and 2017. And there has not been one since. We are excited at Romhack Races to help bring this event back because this event has featured some absolutely foundational creators and people in our community and really given them the fire and the motivation to go all out in their creative processes. So you're going to see what that looks like after this presentation because White Moth is going to show it off. But we're not entirely sure the levels that won the original KLDCs are RTA viable. Crashdown Castle, which was the winner of the very first KLDC, I'm not entirely sure you can beat it without save states. Back then, there were actually 2 categories, difficult and creative. So you could enter a level in this is the most creative Kaizo level I can make. Or you could enter the I hate you and I want you to die, please play my level contest. We're not doing that, to be clear. But that's kind of where it started. And so some of the people that have won in the past, Morsel, G-Breeze, World Peace, you see names like Idol, you see names like Link Dead's been involved. There have been some absolutely amazing creators up and down, both, obviously winning, but just participating in general. So this really is one of the biggest community celebrations of Kaizo creation that we have, and we're looking to make it as big and as bad as we can. Bad in this case meaning awesome.
Bad meaning good.
Bad meaning good. Which, sums up Kaizo in so many ways on its own. So here's what's going to be new for this upcoming KLDC. Obviously, the biggest change is we're working together as organizations. So SMW Central and Romhack Races are going to be working together. That means, for instance, that I, for one, am going to be hosting, which means that I'm going to be working as sort of the community liaison between the administrators and you guys as creators to make sure the contest goes smoothly, make sure the rules are clear, make sure everyone has all the information they need, and also serve as the voice and the communicator of here's how things are going, here's what you can expect, here's when things are going to happen. So that also means that Romhack Races is going to be featuring a lot of promotion for KLDC in our community. Obviously, this is part of that, but moving forward, you're going to see a lot more of that as well. We have 5 judges this year, which for an SMW Central contest is a lot.
Yeah, normally we go with 3 or 4 just to have enough variety of opinion, but there's nothing stopping more, and we wanted to have one more on it.
And actually, we just confirmed a backup judge, too. So we have up to 6 judges ready to go.
Always a good idea to have a backup.
We are featuring some familiar faces to Romhack Races community, some familiar faces to the SMW Central community, which could end up being new faces on the other side for both. And we also have people that have been around the block for as long as Kaizo has been a thing, as well as people new relatively to Kaizo as a concept, but experts in level design in general and also just able to play them at a high level. That moves on to, we're really going to increase the focus on streaming contest levels, including judges. So you're going to see at least 3, most likely 4 of our judges are regular streamers and are going to be incorporating their judging into their normal stream content. So if you create a level, these judges are going to be playing it on stream, giving their feedback on stream. They're not going to be scoring it on stream, but we're going to really make sure that the community sees as much of this as possible. So here is what KLDC is. Starting January 13th and ending by February 24th, make and share with us a new Kaizo Light level. That's it. If I could sum the entire contest up in one sentence, that's it.
Man, why can't all of our contests be that simple? The rules are easy. Just boom, make a level, make a Kaizo Light level.
Imagine.
The end. We're done. No.
All right. Obviously, there's going to be people with questions. I understand that, but we wanted to just try and strip this down as to the most foundational elements as possible. We're telling people we're starting on January 13th because we want people to get hyped for the contest. If you want to start making your level now, technically, don't. But I mean, we're not.
We don't encourage making levels before the contest. Any of our contests begin, just because. Yes, this is technically kind of like one of our chocolate level design contests in that we aren't really putting boundaries on what you can do with your level. It's just usually a good idea to wait, see the full rule set when it launches, and then go and make your level.
You're not going to see the full rule set here. We're just going to hit on a couple key points for you to start getting your creativity going, but the full rule set is going to drop on January 13th.
Yeah, it'll only be posted when the contest begins.
So here's what that means. When we say a new level, we mean a brand new level. We're asking you to submit levels that have not been featured in any hack, collab, race, or other submission, and that includes pending submissions. So even if you've submitted a level in a hack that it ultimately was not accepted or is currently awaiting moderation, please do not submit that to KLDC. We want these levels to be truly new and unique to the competition.
Yeah, you want them to be fresh. You want them to be started from scratch, because it does yourself a disservice to just enter something random that you have sitting around. Mm-hmm. That's not really the fun in the contest. The fun is making something within the rules. So we always encourage people to.
We are asking that your level be completable without any tools, and that it be either console, BSNES, or SNES 9X compatible. For Kaizo Light, that's really not new, but because it's never really been explicitly said in KLDCs in the past, we felt that it was appropriate to make that distinction. We know that there are some people out there that do some phenomenal Kaizo hard design, but for the sanity of our judges and also in order to ensure that all the creators are starting from the same place, we are asking that levels be at minimum BSNES or SNES 9X console compatible, basically. I know our judges are going to be playing on a wide variety of hardware, so we might ask you if your level is not console compatible but is BSNES compatible to let us know so we can let our judges know. But we're really focusing on Kaizo Light, and Kaizo Light with compatibility for the most community recommended ways to play hacks. There will be one required patch. You'll find out what that patch is when the rule set drops, and then you can partner up with someone else to create an entry, but each individual person can only enter one level. So if you partner up with someone, you also can't enter a solo effort.
Yeah, so basically, if two people enter and work on one level, that's the only level that they can submit together. You can't make two levels that you each say that you work on and then submit them under individual names.
Right.
If that makes sense. This is something we've never had to explain before, but I think we had somebody enter a contest in the past where they did that. Two people working on two different levels and submitting under different names. And technically it wasn't against the rules at the time because we hadn't ever thought of that. Up to one partner, one level in total.
So this next slide is probably the slide that most creators are interested in seeing, and I'm excited to talk about this. Beyond the required patch, all custom graphics, all custom music, all custom patches, all ASM, all blocks, and all sprites are all fair game.
This is what I meant when I said it's basically a Kaizo chocolate contest where you can do whatever you want with your level after you apply the one patch.
This does mean that we will not be working on a collab hack, which should not surprise any of you familiar with the history of collab hacks for SMW Central contests. But we thought about making it so that we could all put everything together. But at the end of the day, we felt that what was more important was to give creators the freedom to do what they wanted.
It is unviable for collaboration to be built out of any type of chocolate style contest, no matter if it's Kaizo or regular chocolate or any of the other ones. The only way we can do it is if we limit people and what they can do, and we didn't want to this time. So no collab, but free reign to do what you want.
Go nuts. I mean, Motor Skills, before it was the final level of Storks, was the 2016 winner of the Kaizo level design contest, and I think at the time no one knew that that would be such a genre defining level. But to think about it, some of the most impressive and some of the biggest pushes in level creation have come from KLDCs, and we want this KLDC to be huge, and we want this KLDC to really push the community envelope in terms of what we should be expecting from Kaizo. So we want as many stops as possible to get pulled out and give you guys fair rights and ability to just work at the limits of your creativity. So here are the logistics. We're going to post the rules and submission threads to SMW Central literally the day after I get back from AGDQ. All entries must be posted as replies in that thread by Monday, February 24th. If you've ever participated in an SMW Central contest, this slide is going to seem really, really elementary, but I know that there are people that haven't. And so this is mainly for the Romhack Races people that are used to kind of doing things a certain way.
This is true. Yeah. You are going to submit. It does mean that you will have to register on SMW Central. It's the only way that we can fairly track the levels being submitted.
Yeah, for all of you that have been holding out as lurkers on SMW Central and you want to enter, I'm sorry. We're going to have to drag you out of your SMW Central lurking.
You don't have to become an active poster. I mean, that'd be great. But if you just want to register, post your level, and be done with it, that's okay too.
Now, this might seem weird for those of you that aren't active posters or aren't familiar with kind of how SMW Central is built. You're going to have a submissions thread where the only thing that is going to be allowed to be posted in that thread is your submission to KLDC. So what you will do is when you create an account on SMW Central, you get a file bin, basically. Each user has the ability to upload and store files in a file bin. What we are asking you to do is, when you're ready to enter, upload your BPS patch to your file bin and link to that in your post on the thread. If you want, you can actually go back to previous KLDC threads and see kind of how that works. It's just literally a thread of links up and down. Now, if you post it and you realize, oh crap, I want to edit something, you have literally until the last day to submit. So if you post a link in the submission thread, you can go back and edit that link to updated file versions. Just know that when that thread closes, that thread locks and we download everything. So if it's not linked to the right file, we're not going to get the right file. Entries are going to close at the end of the day on the 24th. And end of the day will be... The end of which time zone's day will be clearly communicated in the rule post.
It'll be a specific time zone, and we will have a link, or we might even have one of our various timers going off specifically for it. But it will be clearly marked on the site, in the thread, in some capacity.
Judges will not see any of the levels until after the deadline's passed, so there's not going to be... You don't have to worry about judges snooping around. That said, know that the submissions are public, so everyone is going to be able to see and download your entries prior to the deadline. Just know that's just how it's always been.
And that's a good thing, because that means that you can post your works in progress before the final submission date and get feedback from other players. I mean, I encourage everybody to get feedback, because getting other people to play your levels is the best way to figure out if you've got an issue with it or you need some other type of fixing up with it. Get people to play test your stuff. It really helps. It really does.
And like I said, the only thing you can post in submissions, in the submission thread, is submissions. There will be other threads in the forums on SMW Central for discussion and feedback, as well as specific sub-channels on both SMW Central's Discord and Romhack Races Discord for KLDC discussion.
We might even make KLDC have its own sub-forum, which would allow users to create threads dedicated to their individual levels. We're still deciding on that, but I think we're probably going to go with that kind of thing, because it's not too difficult to set up for everybody. And KLDC is a pretty large contest these days, so it only makes sense. If you're familiar with how VLDC works, and the way we do contest sub-forums, then it's the same idea.
Yeah, Xandro with the very galaxy brain strat of make sure your patch works before you lock it in.
Yes. You are responsible for your level working. If it doesn't work after the contest submission deadline, if anything that's wrong with the level after the deadline, unfortunately, we cannot open up for updates. We don't take late penalty points or something for a submission being late. It doesn't work that way.
So take advantage of the freedom you have to share your submissions around before the deadline. Told you we had 5 judges, and here they are. We have Caterpie, or Caterpie. I'm still not entirely sure how they want that pronounced. But for those of you in the Romhack Races community that do not recognize that name, Caterpie is a long-time member of the SMW Central community and a past KLDC judge and Kaizo hack mod for SMW Central. They have a ton of experience on what goes into this, and actually you can go back and check out some of their previous judging threads in past results threads as well. The other 4 names might be a bit more familiar to you in the Romhack Races community. Link Dead, who plays everything anyway, so he was going to play this regardless. White Moth, who is on the call with us now, previous entrant in KLDC's past. Our own fearless leader, GlitchCat7 here. And Strizer86, who is newer to the Kaizo community, but a very experienced platformer, player, and speedrunner, as well as a person who knows very well what goes into good level design. So it's a really good mix of old and new faces, and hopefully what this means is that we get a really wide berth of variety and opinion in the levels and the judging we get. So here's how scoring is going to work, because we're not going to release the full judging scale until the 13th, but I can tell you that there's going to be 4 categories: level design, creativity, aesthetics, and Kaizo elements. Level design, creativity, and aesthetics, I hopefully will speak for themselves. When we say Kaizo elements, what we mean is this an actual Kaizo level, and by Kaizo I mean the genre of Kaizo. Is it save state free? Is it a Kaizo light? Basically, that is the points way to keep people in check from making something that is either Kaizo hard or not Kaizo at all. There won't be a ton of points, but it's there to keep everyone in check. We have 5 scores. Each level is going to get 5 scores. We're going to throw out the top and the bottom score for each level, and we're going to average the other 3 together, and that's how we're going to rank things. Pretty simple. No bias, no judge bias, anything like that. We're going to just do it as by the book as we possibly can. Judges are going to be talking to each other. We're encouraging the judges to stream, obviously, but all judges will keep their actual scores to themselves until all those scores are submitted. There are going to be ways for judges to talk with each other if they feel that a level is either breaking a rule, or if judges are having particular struggles getting past a certain part of a level that they're unfamiliar with. Other judges might be able to help guide them so that they can ensure that it is viable and all that stuff. But we're just going to make sure that everything's on the up and up. But this gives you an idea of how we're going to score. And yeah, FP, this is like when we were putting this together, like my goal was that this does not look very different than any of the other contests we've had.
The most different aspect that we have is the top and bottom scores being removed. It's like Olympic scoring in a sense.
Yeah.
You know.
So, and that the goal there is that we all know that despite all of our best efforts to be as purely objective as possible, everyone's going to have their strengths and weaknesses and biases towards certain aspects of Kaizo design, whether it's item abuse, shells, regrabbing, stuff like that. So this hopefully evens out some of that creator bias / design bias in the judges, which we wouldn't have picked the judges if we didn't think they were appropriate and credible, but this just
it's mostly just to account for one level like getting one big outlier score from one judge or something like that, and then hopping up the ranks a lot because of it. We've had plenty of instances of that kind of stuff happening in previous contests where, you know, it's something we thought about and we're going to try out for this contest.
So there's prizes. Yeah, there's actual prizes involved. I think we're still determining exactly how the trophies are going to break down, but if you haven't noticed, if you participate and receive an award in a contest on SMW Central, you get a really, really nice, shiny trophy for your profile. And that's definitely going to be true here. So KLDCs in the past have had trophies for top 3 and then participant trophies.
Yes,
and
that's true. And that's still the plan for this.
Yeah, so I think what we've determined is that if you submit a level and it gets disqualified, you don't get a trophy.
Yeah,
but
it has to be a level that is actually not disqualified. We may, depending on how many entrants we get, how many levels we get, we may also have a top 10 trophy.
Yeah, but there will be trophies. These are digital trophies, to be clear. They're not actual trophies. We're not going to ask anyone for a mailing address. This is just pure swag for your SMW Central account.
But aside from the swag,
yes,
the real digital
there are actual prizes, and by prizes we mean we're actually having games. So
we have a games list on SMW Central. It's a bunch of codes. The first, second, and third place winners will be allowed to pick and choose from our lists.
So there are actual prizes. So it's not just notoriety, although that's definitely true. You will actually be able to compete for an honest-to-goodness prize. As well, and we got to talk about how we're going to do this on our end, but we are definitely going to be featuring top levels from KLDC on stream here at Romhack Races. So that may mean showcasing them in a race setting. It may mean showcasing them in a interview with the creator to talk about their creation. Who knows? It's going to be a bunch of things, but it does.
We wanted to make sure that there was some sort of prize, no matter what community you are in.
Yes.
Because we know a trophy on your SMW Central profile might mean nothing if you aren't really an active user there. Or being featured on a stream here might not mean anything if you don't really watch and follow Romhack Races. Obviously, everybody here right now follows Romhack Races, but I'm not,
Mhm.
Doesn't mean that everybody's participating actually pays attention to this Twitch channel, even though they should. So we wanted to have trophies or prizes available that represent different things in each community.
And here's why you should all enter. And I understand the hesitancy to look at previous names on these lists and feel intimidated, and feel like you may think you have no shot to win, which you do. You have a shot to win. But here's why everyone should enter KLDC. And as I said at the beginning, this really is the biggest celebration of Kaizo that our community does. And when I say our community, I mean the whole community, not just the parts of the community that kind of stick on Twitch or stick on SMW Central. We want KLDC to be kind of a bridge to bring as many people that like Kaizo together to celebrate it and to show what we've got. And unless you submit a level, we don't know what that is. So we really want you to be part of this. But aside from just being part of the community, each level is going to get a full set of feedback from not only the judges, but from everyone in the community that you reach out to and include in this. So if you want help as a creator, if you want to see where your stuff ranks, maybe look at potential areas of improvement, or maybe you just want to hear what people think about the stuff you make. This is a great way to do it because you're going to put your level in front of an absolute ton of qualified Kaizo players that are going to be incentivized to give you as straight an answer as they can. And finally, really, this is going to be the contest that future generations of Kaizo creators look to for inspiration. You're going to see in a bit what I mean by that, but it's not just the winners. It really is a full roster of levels and level creators that have inspired just tons and tons and tons of content for this community. Going back as early as some of the very earliest KLDCs, you can start seeing some of the foundations for this. And we want you to help us be that for the next generation.
From what I've witnessed in just the last few years since the last KLDC, I mean, Romhack Races did not exist. Suddenly, we're starting to see Kaizo levels being played at GDQ events and other things. The Kaizo community is getting bigger and bigger, and it's important to have a new KLDC now that the community is much larger and has all this support and interest. So we're excited to see what people make, and just welcome everybody to make fun levels.
All right, everyone.
Thank you for watching our PowerPoint.